you are, what your gaming experience
I'm 32.
is. But I'm 35 years old. I've been playing games since I was 5 years old. I've owned every console.
Congrats.
I built PCs. I have a PC sitting under me right now. I'm not you people. I'm not a separate entity. I'm not a crypto bro. I'm a gamer.
I think you are.
I mean, you're coming off as a crypto bro, mate. You're in the comments defending cryptocurrency games because you think they're the future. You're making videos defending cryptocurrency games because you think they're the future. You're coming off as a crypto bro. I'm sorry to tell you, maybe this is one of those where you're going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning one day in a cold sweat, like, just jaw out of a dream and realize you'll, like, sit up straight and be like, oh my god, I'm a crypto bro. But you're going to have that come to Jesus moment, I think. Because you're coming off like a crypto bro.
We're just like you, and again, what you're doing, you're trying to separate us. You're trying to separate
We are
communities
separated.
as if because a gamer now likes a game that has blockchain integration in it, that's a crypto bro now. He's just trying to make money.
I mean, this is not a game that has blockchain integration in it, though. The blockchain integration was the first thing you ever interacted with, because there was nothing else to interact with. That's the point, man. Like, there was no game before they were selling things on the blockchain, so you can't have been a fan of the game because you never fucking played it. Like, it's just not. It just doesn't make sense to me, other than I understand people being excited about the old technology. Blockchain adds nothing to gaming that we couldn't do without it, and I've not seen any use case whatsoever that makes me think this will make a better game. I think the only way you could use blockchain in gaming and have the game be better for it, it wouldn't even relate to the actual game. It would just be a normal game, and again, the fucking Kira repeats himself on the 100th video. CSGO, but the skins are NFTs, which they essentially already are. They're just in a closed loop of Valve's Steam Marketplace system. That would be the only way NFTs would add anything to any aspect of current gaming as we understand it. And people are going to do this bullshit. Oh, interoperability. Oh, you can take a skin from one game and put it into another. I do not believe you. I don't believe that that's something anyone thinks is actually going to add anything.
Oh, come on! Oh my god, why three of you?
Take time to put that in their game.
I should have ran until I got the cool back up.
I don't think
Cool down
people
back up.
understand that companies are businesses, and only the ones that want to work together will do that. And most of the time, in corporate life, that just generally
Fucking
doesn't.
annoying.
It just doesn't
Well, I'm
jive.
by a river and
But
there's
other
like a
than that,
house.
I don't see this
I
adding
don't think
anything.
I'm ever gonna find my
Maybe
fucking body
as like
again.
a way to track gold, so there's not duping and things like that. Maybe you could make that point. But when you then take the negatives and weigh that up against what you're gaining from it, it just doesn't.
Maybe there's
it
a
doesn't
priest right
it
here.
doesn't do anything for me as a game. Nobody's given me, like, up front and center, here are the pros.
Oh
that
god,
outweigh
please
all
tell
the
me there's a
cons, and this
priest
is why
here.
we need to adopt blockchain in gaming. All I've seen is negative after negative after negative, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise, because your whole point is you
There's
don't
a
know
priest
what
right
you're
there.
talking about.
Or well, I mean
I
it's
don't know
Faburnum.
what to say
Yeah.
other than the fact that I've literally done maybe at this point even thousands
I don't
of
think I'm
hours
ever gonna find
of
my
looking at
body
these
again.
games, looking at
God
blockchain,
damn it.
decentralized finance, cryptocurrency.
I can
massive
follow
in-depth investigations,
the
literally doing
trail
like blockchain analysis for like hacks and things like
and
that.
try and find
And
this
people stealing in
house,
other
and I might
projects.
find it.
Spoke to the biggest names in crypto gaming, the CEOs that I'm sure you'd love to speak to, the biggest names in decentralized finance. I've spoken to these people, got them on my, personal social media accounts and things like that.
Wait. I think I'm okay.
Your thing is you come and you go, he's making React content to the worst things ever, and he doesn't know anything about the blockchain gaming space. At that point, like, you're basically just putting down everything that I know to, shore up your opinions that I don't know what I'm talking about, and you're going to get me because I don't know what I'm talking about. It's fucking
I guess
nonsense.
this is
It's just
Faburnum, or is it a
nonsense.
castle?
Again, bro, incorrect. You cannot make these blanket statements.
I can.
Especially
It's
because
for
you don't
Burnham.
know me. I played every major title.
This is what people want. So Mirandas, this is the first article that pops up when you go on this guy's Twitter. You retweeted this one from 8-bit 10D. I didn't know this was the guy, because I thought obviously if he'd have been commenting, he'd have been commenting on this account if that was him. But this is him apparently. This is his his website. Fantastic news source, but here we go.
I'm guessing when you say fantastic news source, you're being sarcastic here. And I'll give you a little bit of background about 8-bit tendies and my website. As a gamer and someone who's interested in advanced and integration of blockchain technology within games, which I'm excited for as a gamer, you know, I decided to make a YouTube channel. And I only focus on the games that I'm interested in. I don't take sponsorships. I'm not paid. Now you'll see I do talk about a lot of Gala Games content. I have made 1 or 2 sponsored videos a year ago for them, but I am not sponsored. I can say whatever I want.
This is the thing though, right? And I've made this point a million times. This video is going to be fucking super long. I'm sorry. I've made this point a million times. The insidious element of cryptocurrency and blockchain gaming and all this shit is that you don't have to be paid. You're incentivized by your own investments. Because we all know, if you've ever criticized something online or looked at like fan bases, the worst of the fan base are the people that are really invested in something, and usually that's just like an emotional or a, you know, some form of mental investment, sunk cost, whatever it is. Like, they make the game part of their personality. The most insidious element of stuff like this is that when you have a financial inducement based on owning the underlying asset, which in this case is the Gala tokens or whatever, or the NFTs associated with these games, you don't need to be paid. Your entire shit is like, it's like your future in your mind is oh, this shit.
Oh, I'm gonna be able to recover, I guess.
Benefit from it.
That's good.
And I'm not saying this is guaranteed to be him. I don't know whether he's supremely invested, but I would assume he does own this cryptocurrency or owns some of the stuff in these games, because it just tracks, doesn't it? If he's really excited about Gala Games and all the things that they're doing, of course he's going to own the cryptocurrency, right? So you don't need to be paid. That's a fallacy. They don't need to be handing you cash when you have an investment that goes up if it does well, and you're then incentivized to hope, you know, to perpetuate that it's going to do well. I think this is like a non-point for anyone with any common sense.
I can talk
There's
about
the
any game
building.
that I want. You can see it's a small channel.
I'm gonna recover,
you
I
can talk
think.
about any game that you want, but you're
That's
talking
good.
mostly about Gala Games.
I'm making a shit ton of money off of it. So I say my real honest opinion.
There it is.
I'm excited about
Nice.
these games. I'm excited about what these developers are creating. And so what I did as well is I created a website. And in that website,
Cool.
again, to educate the general masses, the general player base, I created a website in which I can talk about, hey, let me gather all the information that we currently have about Mirandus, about Superior, about these other games, and I'm going to put it in one place so people can read about it, watch the trailers, and get insight into what these games are doing. When you try to be sarcastic about what I'm doing, you're just being negative, my friend.
I mean, 1, sarcasm is also comedy. 2, didn't know it was fucking you in the first place. 3, the term 8-bit tendies is just a shit name in my opinion. So yeah, that is definitely negative. It's basically a meme, right? Tendies is the meme that came from Wall Street bets, where people were literally gambling on options and like, oh, GameStop to the moon to get tendies. The joke was that like you're living with your mom and she's bringing you like chicken tenders. So when your website is then 8-bit tendies and you're talking about NFT games, to me I'm just like, it doesn't seem like a good news source based on that name. But what do I know, I guess.
All I'm trying to do is enlighten people and educate people.
That's fine.
Because I guarantee you, people in the comments, they can't list 2 or 3 crypto games. They're probably...
I thought we weren't doing that generalizing thing. I thought we weren't doing that you people thing. Now we're doing my entire comment section can't list 2 or 3 games. They definitely can, because they watched that video where you listed like 7 games and they're all shit.
I'm gonna mention Axie Infinity. And to tell you the truth, in the Web3 community, no one likes Axie Infinity. There are games with...
That's completely untrue. If it was how could nobody like it and it be the biggest game? It's just not possible. It's nonsense.
In the Web3 space that we also think are Ponzi's, and we're not interested in them. We're interested in the games that are being built by real AAA developers. Voxverse is being built by Will Wright. We got games like Mirandus, which is being built by developers who've worked on all the World of Warcraft titles, on Dungeons.
The concept that you're a AAA developer because you've worked on AAA games before as individuals, like, I don't know, you have to substantiate that somewhat. For me, this game's being developed by a AAA development team would mean that like this team together developed these games, like they were the driving force. But what you'll tend to find is in crypto games they'll say, oh, we've got AAA developers, and they'll list all these games out, and they'll be like, oh, this guy worked on sound for like 10 of these games and he's on the team, so we're just going to present it as if like, oh, because this guy worked on sound on 10 games, then people are going to think we have all this credibility, whereas the lead game designer, the lead developers, the people in the high up positions didn't actually do shit. I'm not saying that's the case for them, but it's just what I've noticed. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, this guy worked on World of Warcraft, and then you look and it's an artist. It's like, yeah, that looks really cool till you look into it. Which I'm not saying art's not important, it's just that if you tell me somebody worked on World of Warcraft, I'm going to think like, oh, really? Were they like a lead designer or something? Did they like plan out some of the systems? Were they working on the networking? Like, what did they do? And then you tell me it's an artist, I'm like, not the same thing. It's not going to give me the same confidence.
And Dragons Online on a ton of AA and AAA titles.
Now let's look at Miranda's game overview. What are we missing here? Is this what's going to prove me wrong?
The game world is expansive with 5 grand cities that can be owned by players and filled with opportunities for crafting, trading, and socializing.
Now, when they say owned by players, what you probably need to know is that they were selling land for this game before anyone had ever played it, which is in no way compatible with how normal people play games. And I'm comfortable saying normal people because at this stage there's 2 groups of people that look at games like this. People who want to play them and have fun, and people who want to earn money from them. The people who want to earn money from them are the people buying the stuff before the game even exists, because you've got to be on some like different level of shit for you to buy things from an unknown development studio. Even if there's names in there, I mean, it by definition is an unknown development studio. Even if people worked at it, even if people worked there that worked on other big games as a studio, they've made nothing. So by definition, they're unknown. That you recognise or that have done other things, that's irrelevant. Do you know how many big companies make shit games or make games for years that are bankrolled by someone else with millions of dollars that never come out?
When a company needs to create a game, they need to get bankrolled, right?
So I will say that Gabe Newell from Valve, the CEO of Valve, whatever he is, I don't know what his actual title is, could come out tomorrow and say, we've been developing this game for 2 years. That would give me a few % of like, oh yeah, I'm more looking forward to this because it's Gabe Newell. But realistically, you only have to look at games that Valve have released, and they've got the most money and the most tenure to know that even Valve can release shit games. So when you then take a blockchain game that might have some random people that work on some big games, and that's your big selling point, like, I don't know how you don't agree with this. I don't know how this is not just pure common sense. Because Valve not only have the tenure and have shipped all these games and the credibility and the fact that they can't run away with the money, they can't do anything because it's fucking Valve. Not only do they have that, they also have all their own. They're not going to sell you anything.
I got him.
They have premium IPs. They have all these things, and even that doesn't matter to me because I'm still going to.
Oh, nice that has poison.
Yeah,
cool.
They've made a lot of bad games, though, haven't they? They've released games like Dota Underlords, which did okay for a little while, and then it's basically fucked. They released that card game that I can't even remember the name of because it was fucking useless. They've not done anything with a lot of their big IPs for a while. They've even outsourced most of their development. So if I can look at that and say that, normal gaming, by the way, from a company that I really like, I really think Valve do some great things. I'm not going to look at Miranda's from fuck knows who and be like, yeah, this is a good idea. It's definitely what you should bet on. Like, it just doesn't track.
Right. If a bunch of developers from AAA, AA titles all get together and they're like, hey, we want to make a game. This is our vision for it. Here are our concept. This is how the world is going to work, etc. They got to pitch that to someone. And someone
pitch it to investors.
Has to pay for that.
Yeah.
Correct? I don't understand.
Already exists in normal gaming, by the way. Pitch it to VCs, pitch it to investors, sell equity in the company, because then they take the risk, and if the game does well, the game does well, and the investors make money, they make money. Then you don't have to compromise on the core tenets by selling people something that doesn't exist yet, giving people an almighty supreme advantage and more fun within the game if they gamble in, versus people who come in later when they just have a product that they might want to try out. It's pretty simple, but of course we're going to present it as if this is the only way to do it, just to crowdfund through NFTs.
And what the hang up here is when the developers or Mirandus are like, hey, we're building this world. Let me give you an idea of what it's going to be like. Let me give you an idea of what our background is. And there's a way for players, not just VCs, not just big investment companies. There's a way for you, the regular player, to help us develop this game. Are you going to own a piece of land or be early in the play test and get to experience what it's like building this world with us? It's like doing a Kickstarter. It's like doing an Indiegogo, and you cannot get upset at people.
No, it's not.
For doing that. I don't disagree with you. Not every game makes it. But
I'm not upset at people doing it, by the way. If companies want to do this and people want to take that risk, cool. More power to you. I just think it's a bad idea, and I'm going to use my platform to tell people it's a bad idea. That's it. Like, I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset about people who waste their money or people who buy things that I think are stupid. That's cool. But I'm obviously of a different opinion, so I'm going to talk about it.
This is based on, I understand who the developers are, I see what they're doing, I see who's backing them, etc. You can't shit on people for that.
I mean, I can.
You can.
Just like I can shit on people who bought into investments because they thought they knew who the people were. I'm sure people knew who Bernie Madoff was. He was very well respected in the finance community, running the largest Ponzi scheme on planet Earth. People said that they knew who, Sam Bankman-Fried was, and all these other people from like 3AC, Celsius, etc., etc. People thought they knew who they were as well, and they were making an informed decision. But the thing is that it makes no difference, especially when you're talking about people don't even have to be malevolent or malicious or whatever else. Making video games is very difficult, and if you're telling me like this is a gamble you want to take, cool, do it. But again, I am just going to tell you that this is a bad idea and the game doesn't look good. That's it. I've played a lot of games. You said you played a lot of games. If you're telling me you think an MMO is going to work out where people own the majority of the stuff that exists in the game that would give you power and reason to play before the game even exists, I'm going to tell you that's a bad idea. I'm going to tell you that that's shit, and most gamers will reject that, full stop. Gamers don't even like early access head starts and things like that, and you're telling me people who bought into something for thousands of dollars before it even fucking existed is going to be something people get on board with?
No, and on top of it, you're trying to rip off your own community.
Black Desert Online because the cash shop's egregious.
Yep.
And Black Desert Online is a fairly decent game. So if you think people are going to flock to this, I just disagree. It's fine. It is what it is. They get
I didn't like BDO.
Or just lack
I tried.
and that's not even looking at the ones that do come out in the MMO space that aren't good. And you're saying it's going to be all these amazing things that no other MMO is. Use a new technology. Use a new payment model where the people who buy in early before any of this exists are the ones that are the most powerful, the ones that have the most stuff, the ones that have the most fun. And that's somehow going to... You're putting your confidence in that. You're not then on the same team as the people who just want a game to come out and play it and have a good time.
I'm not on the same team as someone who just wants a good game to come out. This doesn't make any sense, man. I'm looking forward to this game. I want to help be a part of this game. I like the fact that I get to go into the Discord, talk with the developers, also ask them the hard questions, and they respond. And sometimes they implement suggestions.
I don't value that at all.
So, who is this person that just wants games to come out but doesn't understand the process of how a game is built and expects someone else to pay for everything? Someone else gets to pay for the game, and then what do I get to do? Diablo?
What? Do you not think that companies don't take feedback from consumers unless the consumers bought an NFT? Is that what we're saying? Because companies do take feedback from their consumers or potential consumers. Like, I don't understand the premise. What are we saying?
4 is coming out. What do I get for that $99 bundle? Well, when you pay extra, you get early access. Oh, look at all these people right now playing early access to Diablo. And what did they get for paying the extra $20? Oh, well, they got some skins that you can use in World of Warcraft. They got some extra skins, some different items, some stuff that actually help you progress a little faster within the game. This is very similar.
Sailing in ships. So you're saying owning land and limited time characters that can never exist ever again, and there's only 1,000 of them, is the same as getting a couple days early access in Diablo 4? You're just not engaging in reality, mate. You're just not. I don't know what to... If these are the points, you say you're not a crypto bro, and then you make the most crypto bro fucking non sequitur I've ever heard. At all in this conversation. That makes no sense whatsoever. And also, I would disagree with the practice of selling early access. And again, this was a point I made in the video. Or any pay to win, anything that can be considered paying for an advantage and getting an advantage for money, I don't like in normal gaming. That's literally one of my points, but I'm very confused. Irrelevant. Let's look at exemplars. These are the things you buy. I'm pretty sure you like. You also buy ships as well. I didn't see this until after.
Players can choose from a variety of characters known as exemplars, each with their own unique skills and subclasses. The 5 main classes include elves, halflings, orcs, dwarves, and humans, each offering a different playstyle.
There are only 1,000 elven exemplars in the entire game.
I wonder how you get those. Do you want to play as an elf? Did you buy in before the game existed?
There are only 1,000 elf exemplars in the game. I like that there's actual rarity.
I thought you would, mate. I thought you would. Good point.
Play Pokemon and Mew, he's a 1/1.
Did you pay thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for your Mew when you were playing Pokemon? Didn't think you did you?
He's really hard to get, and then turns out everyone has a Mew. Oh, well, this isn't really rare, and he's not really a 1/1, right? So I can either pay $60, $70 for the copy of the game that gets me access to play the game, or I can buy one of those human exemplars. I can go on OpenSea right now, and I can spend $100, same as the Diablo 4 pre-order.
Before it exists. You can go play the beta now, and it will be out in... I don't even know when it releases, a couple months.
Now I have access to the game in the same way, but not only that,
you don't.
I own that human exemplar. I play for a few months. I'm bored with it. Maybe I go and sell that exemplar, and
probably not. I'm gonna guess. If you do, maybe you'll get pennies on the dollar. Like people who already bought in, and all the NFTs are down by like a drastic amount already.
Coop the $100. Or maybe it's even worth more because people want to get in, play the game, etc., and it's become popular. So not only is it the same thing, but it's better. I like the fact that Mirandus has only 50,000 exemplars, which again, it's a one world they're building. It's 50,000 concurrent players. This is early access. This is alpha.
So this is one thing I looked at after. What he's just said, just imagine this. There's only 50,000 exemplars. So these avatars that you buy, which are better than the other avatars that you can just play, they're just like default characters, which I think they've talked about. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's only 50,000 of them. So if you wanted to play this game and it came out and it was actually good, they've said they'll never make any more because that would devalue the investments of people who bought in already. This is why the rigidness of development when you're selling people investments, where the expectation is not only do you buy this thing if you want to play, but it is something that will make your money go up eventually if it's good. You can't make game design decisions like that because it just puts you in a spot where anything you do can just devalue real money for players, which is not something you want to be fucking with because it affects people's real life, and they've done that. So there's only 50,000 of these things, and they're mostly sold out. You can buy them for much cheaper now because obviously crypto market went down, line goes down, and when you go play the game, let's say it came out and they had all these 50,000 sold and held by people, you just simply couldn't get one of these unless you bought for more money on the market, which would then drive the money up that these would cost, and there's never any more coming out. That doesn't sound like a good basis for design for me.
Well, look, all the questions that you're asking about how does this work, this has been asked in the Discord by people like me from other players who have the same exact concerns, and there are answers for that, but you don't know that, right?
Okay, give me the answer then. What am I wrong about when I say? By the way, it's a rhetorical question when I say, "How does this work?" It's a fucking rhetorical question. I know how it works. It's fairly obvious how it works.
You're not in the Discord. You're not making videos in which you went and you talk to these developers, which you can.
Why
No,
the fuck
so
would I
that's
do
just
that?
locked
Off from you then. What a fantastic game design. Wow.
Period.
These specializations will encourage players to work together, making the overall gameplay fun.
It is a fantastic game design because what if everyone can get an elf exemplar? It's not rare anymore. What's the exclusivity?
Why do you need exclusivity to play a video game? Like, what does that actually give you? Like, I can understand earning something in the game that's exclusive. Like, due to my achievement at excelling at this game and putting in time and effort, I earn something that nobody else has, and whenever anyone sees this or whenever I use it, people are going to be wowed. Contrast that to, I spent thousands of dollars before the game even existed. That doesn't wow anybody. In fact, that makes me think that you're a fucking clown, generally. Or I spent tons of money on this. We have words for people who do that in games, and they're not ones that are pleasant. Like, people don't like that shit. Buying exclusivity in a game where other people are just then treated like peasants, like they are in real life. People play video games to escape, not to be in some fucking corporate nightmare scape.
Huh? That's kind of the point of the game. That's what's exciting to me about it. But here's the kicker, man.
Cool.
You don't have to play this game. Everyone plays games.
Right, are we doing the nuance of water is wet thing now? Like, yeah, you're right, I don't. Cool.
Differently. Even within one game, there are a ton of different game modes in which people play the game totally different. Some people role play in WoW. Some people just go and they play it casually. Some people grind accounts on WoW and then illegally sell them on open markets.
The most important resource in Mirandus is material. It can be used.
Money.
Money.
Let's be real. You know it. I know it. We all know it. The most important resource is not the one in Mirandus. It's fucking real money.
The most important resource is not the one in Mirandus. It's money. That's a kind of a confusing statement there. So Mirandus is the resource in Mirandus in which you get only by finding it in chests, by killing monsters. That's how
Did you
it's
buy it?
distributed. It just turns out that this is an asset that you can choose to do whatever you want with.
The most semantic argument ever. Oh, you used the term in Mirandus, and actually, you can only earn this in Mirandus, but you can buy it with outside resource. That's what I've fucking just said, mate. That's literally what I've just said. What are you even disagreeing with?
So,
everybody knows how this works. This is not. Why is this even a point? You can literally go buy World of Warcraft gold right now, and if I don't say, oh, but you don't buy World of Warcraft gold, you technically buy a token and then you trade the token for the. Everybody knows. Why are we complicating the language we have to use when you know? How does language work? Language exists to convey the thoughts in my brain into your brain. I've just spoke. You've heard what I've said, understood it completely, and then be like, oh, that's actually quite confusing. What it actually is this exact thing you've just explained. I'm explaining it in the most fucking technical terms that we already understood, because that's how the language going from your brain into my ears, into my brain, understood it in the first place. What are we doing? What is this?
if you enjoy the game and you're there to play it, and you want to cast a spell, then you find it in a chest, you kill a monster, and now you consume it to cast your spell. You consume it to finish a crafting recipe. You consume it to do X. But just like in any other game, once you get pretty powerful, you start having an excess of certain items, an excess of currency within the game. You've bought all the things that you've needed. And now you have a choice as a player. You have a choice to now, hey, someone else wants materium. Okay, well here, I'll sell it to you. This is how all these games work, right? But you don't have that option in a regular game. You don't have the option.
You literally do, by the way. To show me an MMO you can't buy gold legally. I think it's like Final Fantasy 14. Which other ones are there? Old school RuneScape, I don't think you can, but the new RuneScape you can. It's very few nowadays. Most of them sell like subscription tokens, which you then can trade into gold. You're not buying it from the company, technically. You're buying the thing from the company, which then trades to a player, which gives them less value, so they're technically just making money out of thin air in lieu of subscription fees, because somebody's paying more for it than a subscription fee actually costs, and then the players trading the gold. You can do this in almost every MMO. Like, this is, you don't need blockchain for this. This is a complete fallacy.
For that currency, for that armor, for that weapon to actually be worth anything. It's worth something still to other players. There's just no way for that person to pay for it or for you to interchange it with them in a streamlined manner. I mean, yes, there's trading systems built into certain games, but again, this is much more complex than just things being within the game. Now you can list it or any other.
Yeah, it's doing the same thing, isn't it? It's doing the same thing. If something has a value in the game, it doesn't matter if it's in or out of the game, it has a value. The only thing this does is allow you to trade it for real money. That's it. Which again, you could do on grey markets in some MMOs anyways, but that's all you're doing. That's all you're adding, which then obviously goes the opposite way, which is literally my point. Which is that if everything in the game can be purchased for real money, there is no achievement in the game. You're talking about exclusivity. What's exclusive about the fact that I'm rich and I can come into a game and just buy the best shit in the game and then just fuck everyone's ass? Like, oh yeah, super exclusive because I'm rich. Amazing. Good fun then.
Third-party marketplace and put it up for grabs.
To buy items, cast magic, craft and enhance equipment, level up, teleport, and reduce the revival cooldown after death. Material.
I didn't catch that before, but you need the shit to reduce the cooldown of revival after death. That doesn't sound fun at all. You fucking bought your in-game currency so you can play the game.
Can be gathered in-game or bought, and the player-driven economy creates a simulation of a real economy within the game. Mirandus is a game that promises to offer a new era of fantasy MMORPGs. With a vast open world, a variety of playable characters, and a player-driven economy, Mirandus
He's obviously not going to react to this whole thing, because we don't have very long left, and he's like a quarter of the way into my video.
A game that will appeal to a wide range of players with different playstyles. The game's innovative approach to player-owned digital assets combined with...
Innovative approach. You buy them with real money. Innovative. Not the word I'd use.
You're missing the point here. When you put things on a public ledger, on a blockchain, it's unlike other in-game trading markets where they're constrained to that game only, where you can't do anything outside of that game. Just that little aspect alone of being able to take that in-game trading market that exists already in many games.
Have you never played a game on Steam? Have you never fucking used Steam? Like, I guess I'm mistaken then. Steam doesn't allow you to take a CSGO item and then post it on the Steam marketplace, a marketplace outside the game. I guess that's innovation then. Just one layer of abstraction. Innovative.
And just allowing it to be public, where you can put it on.
It's literally a public database, by the way. So Path of Exile or something like that, where you have trade websites where they just have a database where you can post stuff and then people can log on and like send the request and then go and trade in game and things like that. Innovative. Just doesn't exist anywhere else. Public ledger. It's a database you can read. That's what that is. Blockchain. It's a database you can read. Innovative.
Facing third-party marketplace like OpenSea. I'm telling you, it's not a big
Oh no, come on, I got spawned and killed.
Because you currently can't do that.
The worst timing. The worst
So
timing.
they could design it that way. if
Maybe
they
one of
wanted
these
to
buildings
without
can
this.
res. Oh, I
It's
do see a
just been
res. It's
decided
not
that
that
they don't
far.
want
Oh,
it
I do.
because
but-
most games don't want you to be able to
Yeah,
log
I
on
mean,
a
I can come
third-party
all the way
website
back. I know where my
and
body
buy the best
is.
things in the game for
I'll
real
probably
money.
die to
There's
them.
also obviously
but
like a
yeah.
regulatory problem with that. They're making games conform to regulations within countries across the world that have a bunch of different laws. So yeah, not innovative.
Yeah, it is an innovative thing to do.
There is
where
one
now players
closer.
Own their own assets. I play League of
know.
Legends. I earn
Well,
different skins. I buy
Yeah, that's
skins
fucking
in
far.
Fortnite.
It's
I
far.
bought different builds
It's
and
really
weapons
far.
from Diablo and Minecraft Dungeons and all different type of games. They're all integrated within the game. Sometimes there is no marketplace for them, but
Damn
now
it.
what it's doing, it's just allowing you to do whatever you want with your own assets. It's funny because it's like it's a benefit to you. It's
Yeah, spending money on a game.
I've made this point a
But
million
it's not for
times,
the
maybe
game,
in
it's
this
for the
video,
currency
actually.
in
For
the game
skins, I don't
is a
disagree.
benefit to you how.
For items in the game,
you can
for
make
just
more of
anybody
it,
to buy,
yeah.
no, I don't like that. Most gamers don't like that. It is what it is. You can disagree, but I'm just telling you what the general consensus is in the gaming community. If you want me to like go down this rabbit hole of what crypto people want, I'm going to tell you that that's not what most gamers want. That's it. That's all there is to it.
It's a benefit to the player.
It isn't.
So there has to be a way to sustain the ecosystem, right? Like in WoW, you pay a $20 subscription fee. In GTA, you
Is it
pay for
$20
expansion
now?
packs. There needs to be a way to continually pay the developers to continue to work. They're not going to work for free. And so now you have this in-game economy where players are doing what they want with their own assets, trading with each other, selling things to each other, doing what they want, renting the item. And then maybe there's a little 2%, 1% transaction fee integrated into all those different sales. Now that sustains the developers. Now that sustains the game without them having to offer expansion packs.
In a perfect world, yeah, maybe. If it was big enough. Most likely not, though, in this case. Yeah, you can definitely make that point. Transactional fees can sustain a game. Yeah, sure. I'm sure Valve make a lot of money from their transactional fees on the Steam marketplace. But what are you trading for that? You're trading everything in the game being just, I can just log in and buy it for money, and then that's the world we're living in. Again, most people play games to escape. They don't play games to be reminded that their real life is worse than some people that are rich, and that they'll always be behind people that are rich. I just don't think that makes a good game generally. Fantasy worlds are supposed to be, leaving the reality, and this is not. It's just nightmarish for people who aren't going to spend a massive amount of money on a game.
Other things that they have to sell you. Some are gonna, before the game gets built, they're gonna offer you things that you can buy.
Of course.
There's gonna be a benefit for that. Some games, they're gonna be free to play just from the jump. And as you earn items, then you're gonna be able to do with them as you wish. And the developers are gonna take a little cut of any time someone trades. They're all gonna be different. What's happening is you guys are approaching this as like every game is just trying to take your money. All the developers are trying to take your money. All the tokenomics and economies are all going to work the same. And it's incorrect. It's, again, misinformation.
Okay, so where
I think we've been over and over and over this. I'm going to change it now. It was entertaining.
Hi everyone.
God damn it,
Today
get
I
the
want to talk
fuck out of my
about
way.
technological evolution. Specifically, I'm going to try to answer a question from David Deckham411, who asks, what was your experience with the technological evolution we've gone through during your time making and playing games? Was it ever a source of stress, or were you excited to keep up? I'll give you the TLDW. It was exciting and stressful. I'll have to go back a long time ago to explain it, but like even when I was a kid, we started getting little handheld games like Coleco football and things like that, and then suddenly there was a Pong unit out, which you hooked up to the TV, and then within a year or two there was a console, the first console, Atari BCS, which took cartridges, and you're like, whoa, it started playing games that looked like they were in the arcade, and you were like, whoa, this is crazy. that led to all kinds of things: ColecoVision and television, Nintendo, just things just kept coming and coming and coming. As a consumer, it's fun, but also you had to realize that you could buy something and then literally the next year, sometimes 6 months later, it was obsolete. That really hit the stride with PCs. You would buy a PC and it would be obsolete within months as a better sound card or video card or processor or monitor came out. So I'm not going to talk about that side. I'm not talking about the consumer side. I'm going to talk about my experience starting in 1981 of trying to make games where your target was constantly shifting. And this is the thing I've always told people, the huge difference between writing a book or making a movie or making a TV show is the pace of technological change in those don't hold a candle to computer. I mean, yes, they've developed new cameras and different lighting solutions and better microphones. But in general, directing is the same now as it was maybe 20 years ago, 40 years ago. That's not how it works in computer games. Every time something changed technologically, it would make old games not work. It would open up a plethora of choices you could make for new games. Way different than movies now have color, movies now have sound. We're talking, you couldn't do realistic graphics. Now you can. How realistic? You can add in cutscenes. How many? Well, now we have CD-ROMs. You can add a ton. You have space for way more data. We can make higher resolution art. We can just... It expanded exponentially, it felt like, every year. And it was keep up or die. So let me walk through some of these choices I made. So the very first game I made that I started around 83 and it shipped in 86 was Grand Slam Bridge. It may look like it's graphical, but this is all text-based. This was put together in a text mode using ASCII characters that already existed. We didn't even have to define any. So because of this, it worked on any PC. It still works. Was a very interesting way of doing a game. Now, I then went off to grad school for a few years, and when I dove back in to making games in 91...
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here, guys. Did I lose that
I was
book?
doing a game in VGA.
I'm just curious.
And VGA...
No, I don't, yeah. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm going to stop now. It's 5:30 in the morning. I think it's been about my customary amount of time. I'll take a look here in a second. What was that sound? What was that sound? That was a weird sound. Oh well. I mean, my set's up there. I don't know. Maybe I should go try and get my set. How far is this? It's like... Well, I'm halfway there. I'll go try to get the set first before I log, I suppose. I kind of got bored. I was like, I want to go lie down and go to bed.
Was the new hot thing in a sense, because when we did Bard's Tale Construction Set, we had to put in support for the old mode EGA and the even older mode CGA. So VGA for 320-200 resolution gave us 256 colors, but EGA only gave us 16. CGA only gave us 4, and those 4 were predefined. It was black, white, magenta, and some purpley color. I don't remember what it was, or maybe it was magenta and mauve. And there were 2 different CGA modes. You either got black, white, and these 2 colors, or black and white and these 2 colors. Predefined. So, good luck making graphics you want in a low resolution where you can't even pick the colors you want. Now, by the time I started Fallout in 94, in early 94, in fact, I had to work this out exactly when I started. I started working on it probably January 94, because yes, I'm putting together a timeline for many reasons. But the very first meeting with Steve Jackson Games to talk about GURPS for the new game was in March 94, and that's where I can put a pin in it. I know the game was definitely in development by March of 94. It was just me. No one else would be assigned to it until August of that year. But I can say for sure in March 94, but probably a month or two earlier, by January, February, Fallout had begun development. By that time, VGA, this is what, 3 years after Bard's Tale? Because I did Rags to Riches in between. By now, we're up to 640, 480 resolution with 256 colors. That was a huge leap up. That's almost 5 times. It's between 4 and 5 times the resolution of 32200. But to do this mode, which is called Super VGA, you had to bank switch because the PC could only access 64K of memory, and that mode required 4.5 times that much memory. So you had to bank switch. There were the first few scan lines would be on one bank, and then the next set of scan lines would be on the next bank, and the next set of scan lines would be on the next bank. So depending where vertically on the screen you were drawing a pixel, you had to tell the video card, switch to this bank, now I'm going to write into you. When we did Fallout, every video card bank switched differently, and you had to learn that and do it in assembly. No option. Which meant you had to ask the consumer, what video card do you have? Hope they knew. And sometimes it was different. It was, do you have a Trident 9600 chipset A? Do you have a Trident 9600 chipset B? Do you have a Trident 9600 chipset C? They bank switch differently. If you didn't know, you could ask it to auto detect, which was not super 100% reliable. Or you could just ask them to guess and say, guess something, I'm going to try to display a screen. Pray you don't crash. And if they could see something, then you could move on. Luckily, VESA came out. VESA was the Video Entertainment Standards Association, I think. You can look it up. Anyway, VESA made things easier, but it didn't come out early enough for Fallout to fully take advantage of it. We shipped with a Super VGA VESA driver.
There's a priest right here.
Download.
There's a priest right here.
For you. So then you could just say, I'm in VESA. Go ahead and play.
God damn it. Well, now I know.
That worked better than
over here
trying
by
to
the
guess,
tower.
but still. Also, we discovered Fallout was the one and only Mac game I made, because when a new Mac OS would come out, all the old software would break. There was no backwards compatibility, and Apple cared very little about games. I could do a whole video about that. I'm not going to, because I don't really care about Apple. I mean, I have an iPhone. I love it. But I'm going to show as much interest in Apple as Apple ever showed in my games or the game industry, which is very little. But whenever a new Mac OS would come out, it would invalidate the game. In fact, like I said in another video once, people can play Fallout easier by playing the Windows version on a Mac under an emulator or a partition where you've installed something to run a Windows-like OS better and easier than trying to get the Mac version running on a Mac. So by the time Arcanum came out in 2001, we had upped the resolution to 800 by 600, still 256 colors, but it was VESA now, and VESA made everything easier. VESA cards usually shipped with a VESA compliant driver, meaning you could just tell the card through a VESA set of interrupts or API function calls. That's all you need to know. Is, hey, I want to run 800 by 600, 256 color, and it would go, I gotcha. It's set up. And then as you wrote to it, you could just call a VESA supplied bank switching routine, and it would say, I'll figure out how to switch banks for you. Rock on. By then, we weren't doing Mac versions, because I was like, I'm done with this. But the Windows and especially DirectX versions kept updating. Literally while we were making the game, new Windows would come out, new DirectX would come out, and it was hard to keep up. Now, yes, Windows had backwards compatibility that helped. It lets you run games. It still lets you today. It was from a long time ago, but it's not perfect. It can be a little janky. It can cause some issues with HUD and frame rate, things like that. But it works. However, I'll give you an idea. Just when we were making this game, we started on Windows 95 and Windows 10.
I somehow did it.
But then Windows 98 came out.
Oh my god, I somehow did it.
Second edition came out. And then Windows 2000.
Oh my god.
And then Windows Me came out. And then right when we shipped, Windows XP came out. We had to check all of those. You have to check that your game works on all of them. And not just does it start, but does its frame rate good? Is it stable? Do some of the calls you're making into that version of the operating system still work? And that was a pain. By the way, Windows cycled a new version every year. A new version of XP came out every year for the rest of the time we ran Troika, from 98 through, well, the first XP came out in 2001 through 2005 when we shut down. There was just a new version of XP every year. It was hard to keep up with that. But keep in mind, I'm just
I guess the pants disappeared. No, I had pants. It's the chest disappeared.
Was our first game that had
very
3D
weird.
video graphics usage. The backgrounds were still 2D, but we had a 3D collision mesh and we had 3D characters. So we had to go through the 3D API on the card, and a lot of video cards came out 3D. They all did 3D slightly differently. You tend to go through DirectX and do it that way, so you had to handle that. Well, then when we did Vampire, just a couple years later, it was all 3D. And yes, we used an engine, but everything was 3D then. You had to, it was learning a new way of making a game. You had to worry about, polygon count, your texture sizes, all these things that you didn't worry about on 2D, because that was rendered into sprites, and then you just had to worry about how big the sprites were. In 3D, you have to worry about a lot of other things as well. Keep in mind, too, that for the programmers and the level designers, suddenly math is super important. You could probably have gotten by in the video game industry with no math if you were like narrative or even art. Nope, not good enough. Trig was probably helping you out there. Sines, cosines, angles. But once you went 3D, artists, programmers especially, you had to know linear algebra. You had to know vectors. You had to know matrices. And you had to know them well. So that was a huge shift in the industry. Luckily, I'd gone to engineering school. So when suddenly people were talking about vectors and quaternions, I'm like, yeah, I know that. I knew programmers who did it. And they stayed 2D. I don't want to stay 2D for the rest of his career. For the next 20 years, he just stayed 2D. Notice I haven't even touched on languages. My first game was in C, Grand Slam Bridge. Every game was in C until Vampire, which was in C++. It stayed C++ until my first Unity game, Pillars of Eternity, which was C#. But then when we did Outer Worlds and Unreal, we were back to C++. I'll do a whole video on that. I've talked for a long time. I could do a whole video on languages. But let me touch a little on engines, because I do have a video on game engines. I made my own engines from the very beginning in 81 all the way through to 2011. I made my own engine, with one exception, Vampire Bloodlines, which was on the Source engine. And that was from 2001 to 2004. So then when I got to Obsidian, they had some of their own internal engines that were proprietary. So just so you know, we made South Park was made on an engine that they had made to do Dungeon Siege 3, even though the two games don't look at all alike. But once I did that game and we switched to Pillars, then it was on Unity. We were using someone else's engine, and Unity doesn't give you source code. So you basically did whatever Unity said you could do, and if you couldn't do it, you'd ask them, but who knows if it would get done. Then finally, Outer Worlds, we switched to Unreal. Whole new engine. You had to learn a whole new way of doing things. Different language. C++ from the C# and Unity. And you had access to the engine. So if there's something you wanted to do, you could change the engine. But from then on, you were responsible for that change. Whenever you got an update to the engine, you had to fold your change back in. You had to merge it. The whole thing. Programmers know what I'm talking about. So, this has been a long video. Let me just sum up. Technological evolution has been going since the first day I was in this industry in 1981, all the way up through now in 2024. It never ends. You need to accept it and get used to it. For anyone sitting there right now, no, Unity will be around forever, Unreal will be around forever. No, it won't. And you're already starting to feel that maybe those things aren't going to be around forever. So, new engines will come out. They'll get displaced. They won't keep up. Or they're changed so dramatically from one version to another, you have to relearn everything. So I'm just telling you, it never ends. This is both exciting because you get to learn something new usually all the time. It's also stressful because you have to learn something new all the time. And I can't think of, nobody's really immune to this. You may think I'll do narrative design. You get more dialogue. Now there's voiceover. Now there's lip syncing. These are all things that factor into what you're going to do. There's no escaping it. So my take on it is embrace it and love it, because that's what this industry is all about, technological evolution. So I hope that answers your question. David Deckham, 411.
Around 6 months ago, I released a video on my main YouTube channel in my Kickstarter to Court series where I take a deep dive and a look into projects that raised a bunch of money from crowdfunding and never really delivered it. And this was about Dead Matter. Zombie survival game raised $4.4 million from the public. From the start, it was Kickstarter, then it was Indiegogo, and since then they've released very little. There's an alpha playable of the game, but essentially what they've been doing behind the scenes is not a whole lot, apart from wasting people's money, and not just your money, but Tencent's money, something that nobody knew in the community because it had not been publicly talked about. They didn't disclose at all that Tencent had invested in this project. And even when I released my video, when they tried to discredit me, which is what they did, instead of responding to my points and saying what was true, what wasn't true, or trying to like change the public narrative in any way other than Kira is sensationalist, not a journalist and a liar, which we will go over in a minute, they just didn't acknowledge this point. And of course I'm about to prove to you that Tencent did invest in this company, that this company is about to run out of money, that they've been paying people who are completely incapable of doing their job large sums of money for many years, and that they've wasted millions of dollars for something that even internally everybody knew was not going to release because it was so incompetently managed that the fact that the CEO and other high-ranking members of this company were being paid such a large sum of money, of your money, of Tencent's money, is absolutely dumbfounding. But real quick, let's go over what happened in the interim of me posting this video. Well, what they did originally was they were trying to internally figure out how best to, one, discredit me, two, shut me up. Derek, who was at the time the studio head, was trying to get my video DMCA'd, a frivolous, illegal takedown of my video for copyright infringement, for using short clips in a transformative and fair use manner, talking about their game with information that the public would want to be privy to, and of course that they should know. I will now, of course, show you receipts for this claim. So this is from Derek to Tim. Tim being another high-ranking, one of the highest-paid members of the team. This is Tim talking about the shitters within their company. This is a Slack communication. NZ is referring to Nick Zorko, the CEO, and they're talking about, you know, trying to get rid of people and talking about people's wages, of course. Then, as you see, they link directly to my video from Derek, again, the studio head who was being paid $14,000 Canadian per month to run the studio, brought in as the saving grace who was going to save this business. This has been the dumbest distraction. I've been so unproductive since this stupid bullshit. I'm just so enraged. I can't even think, to be honest, because it's so fucking obvious who it is. It's fucking Grant, and they're talking about who leaked these details to me. Spoiler alert, multiple people leaked these details to me. He was the only person who used to work here who would have had any insights into the budget ever. Untrue. Yes, it's dumb, stupid distraction, but it's also why I voted for let's just ignore it. This guy's like 250,000 subs. Probably a lot of them aren't DM fans. It's a bit harder for me. I'm named, and there's a very choice detail. And then he talks about a comment that was, I believe, from Big Fry talking about Derek and his role at NWI, the company he was at previously. Now, what Derek did in response to this was he came to my YouTube channel and said that I was slandering him and that I was spreading lies. He later edited this comment and changed it to misinformation and tried to, you know, back down on what he said publicly. And then he emailed me saying he'd be happy to talk with me behind the scenes, at which point I said, I have nothing to say to you because you're accusing me publicly of lying and slandering without any receipts whatsoever. You're basically trying to tarnish my reputation based on the work that I'd done. Then, of course, Tim says, the problem is all you guys are treating these morons like journalists. They're not, they're fucking YouTubers. It's not that. I'm just hoping he'll fuck up and name the source, because the second that happens, I'll throw a retaliation lawsuit at NWI. So Derek throwing around threats of suing people. And then, of course, what happened in the immediate aftermath of this was, yet again, I found a post on Reddit from Derek's Reddit account, basically saying that they had a vote of no confidence at their office and they were trying to basically get rid of somebody. Now, obviously speculation here was that people were trying to get rid of Nick, the CEO, because he's reportedly incompetent, even from Derek's words, which we'll go over in a minute, in a internal communication that circulated throughout the company and was sent to investors, aka Tencent, which has been made available to me and I've done a thorough reading of. But no, Nick came out and actually said our CFO called against himself after our head of studio, aka Derek, this is referring to, spent 40 minutes screaming and yelling at him in a boardroom meeting because he refused to DMCA Kira TV. Keep in mind that it's illegal to treat someone like that, especially if they are refusing an illegal order in the first place. So Derek was trying to illegally DMCA me because he didn't like that I hurt his feelings by talking about facts that was happening within the studio, even reported by himself in this document. Now, also, just in the interest of being fully transparent, I tried to reach out to Nick because he made this point on Discord when I released my original video. He said, lots of sensationalist points in the video. What else do you expect us to say? We've got a project to focus on, and personally speaking, there's not really much to say, especially when we weren't given any ability to have our side of the story put out there. No, but if you're going to pretend like he's a journalist, he should actually try talking to both sides like a journalist is supposed to. Lamau. Now, a journalist isn't supposed to talk to both sides. They can, if they believe that in good faith they're going to get a response and that would, help the story out in some way, get comment from the other side. But when I've confirmed from multiple people that what I'm saying is true, I don't need you to tell me whether it's true or not, because as we've seen from the public response of what you've said, you were not going to address these points anyway, even when they were brought up and there is validity to them. So what I did this time was I reached out to Nick because I remembered that's what he said, and this is the message that I sent to him. I said, hey Nick, I'm going to be releasing a video in about 16 to 18 hours discussing and showing your company's finances and wanted to give you a chance to comment. He said, I don't know what there is to comment on without any additional context. At which point, I was asleep because I sent this at 7 AM local time for me, and I'd been awake all night doing this and going over documents, etc. He replied an hour and a half later, and then by the time I woke up and tried to message him back, he'd banned me on Discord. Now, it has been reported to me from behind the scenes, from group chats that Nick is in with other people, that he was trying to ban me a while ago but decided against doing it because it would look bad. Now he knows I'm releasing this video, he's decided to ban me anyways, so I guess he didn't actually want the ability to comment on something. He was just saying that yet again to try and discredit me, and now when given the perfect opportunity to have his side of the story heard, he instead decided, as you can see here, no servers in common, decided to ban my account for no reason. I'm a paying customer, by the way. I've never spoken in their Discord server, I've done nothing wrong, so this does make him look like an absolute clown in the fact that he asked for the ability to comment, was given the chance to comment, and banned me instead. Now, as usual, here are some images of Nick in a group chat to his girlfriend who also works at the studio, which is a very weird thing that we'll go over in a second, basically talking shit about other employees, people that are in the company that he operates, that he is the CEO of, to other people within the company, only the select few that are allowed in this group chat that are in his inner circle, where they basically sit around and circle jerk about other people that work there, which is, of course, a very professional thing to be doing as the CEO of a business that's had $5 million in investment from Tencent and $4.4 million investment from the public. This is the second image, where, again, Vitka is his girlfriend, who works as a 2D artist at the studio, which is essentially them saying this is bullshit, etc. And now let's go over the finances, the big one. Now, all of this is in CAD, Canadian dollars, so obviously when you see here, Nick is being paid $12,500 Canadian per month as the CEO, and then there's other people that are on 10,000, etc, etc. It's important to note two things here. The first thing being, when Derek was working at the company, he was paid more than the CEO, Nick. He was being paid roughly around $14,000 for his job. And the other important thing to note, even though I have redacted the names here other than Nick, as well as their positions within the company, because I don't want this to be any kind of witch hunt or anything against the people working there, I just want to illustrate the actual finances of the company and the person running the company. Within this document, which was shared by Nick himself internally, his girlfriend is not on this document. She is not on the spreadsheet, despite working for the company, and again...
Okay, this is it for me tonight, guys. Thank you so much. I've been at this for about 13 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm going to stop. I love you guys, and thank you so much. I have recorded this entire session, and it will be put on my YouTube over the next couple of hours, over the next 12 hours. And it'll be there if you want to see anything about this session, if you saw something you liked or anything like that. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it if you would give me a sub or a follow on Twitch. My website is skycat.live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background, 14 hours every single day, somewhere around there. Click on the cat space to donate if you're on YouTube, or come to Twitch and sub to me or follow me. I do not listen to my chat, but I will, thank people personally for subbing and following to me. And the reason to do so is so you don't see commercials, ads. So thank you so much for your time, guys. I'm going to bed. I'm brain dead. I love you guys. Have a good evening. Bye.